We're done with the A and B chunk for now, so let's move on to the C chunk. We've got C01, we've got C02, we have 4 C03s, and then we have C04, where is that? Here it is. C04, C05, C06. And then within these small guys, we've got a C07. So we only need 6 of these C08s, and then we only need 1 C07, 1 C09, one C10, and 1 C11. These are just extra pieces since they're so tiny. I'm just going to put these aside since I've got all the pieces I need right here. I think I'm going to open up some of the slots with the credit card first, just before I do any folds. That seems a little easier to me. All right, so C01, I'm going to do the same thing on C02. There's some slots on C04 and C06. And then there's a couple folds right at the top. Folding C02 is a little more complicated than the other folds because there's a lot going on. I will just say be careful on the folds up here, just because there's some real thin areas in the paper and you don't want those to rip. If they do rip, you can just kind of patch it up with some tape. So I'm kind of accustomed to using the edge of the table. You could still be using your cracker, whatever works best for you, whichever way you like. And some of these shorter folds, you can even just do with your fingers. You don't even really need to push it up against anything. But do make sure you do the crack for everything, or the crease. So just getting that like full fold over is important, just so you have like real crisp bends. So I guess I'll just say I am folding upwards right now, but that's because I have CO2 up, or like I have the name up. So just if we were doing it the way we're doing the other ones, you know, we're folding into that, right? So if I'm folding down, I want that engraving on the bottom. If I was folding up like I just was, I want to make sure this is up. And this is important because if you do it the other way, this CO2 is going to end up on the outside, but also the part gets like flipped and it's not going to fit in with everything else. So if you do end up folding something the wrong way, just fold it the other way. Try to avoid that because that will put some more wear and tear on all these folds, and you might get parts that start to rip. All right, so these are the folds that you have to be careful with. So I'm not even going to fully crease these just because they're so delicate. And just to mention, so this C04 piece and the C06 piece, they've got some spots that don't fold, but then you fold above and below. So just make sure you leave these little spots with the slots unfolded while you still fold just on the dotted lines. So this is one of the weirder folding pieces. Well, you should end up with something like this. All right, so that's all the pieces for C folded up. Now we're gonna start assembling. So we got C01 and C02 first. This one is a little weird because it's the center, but I'm gonna take this piece like this, fold it back, and then these slots here are going to interact with these hooks. So this is the steeple, so this is going to be on top. So we're going to be folding it in like this. So I've got one side in, and now I'm going to get this other side in. So again, this is kind of coming together like this. So it folds in, and you've got slots here, and this is going to fold into it. And so this is, you can either get your fingers in there, or you can use your tweezers to go and give those hooks a little twist. And then this whole thing should push down. And so we're going to go kind of a side at a time. So I got that side pushed down, I get this side pushed down. Okay, so that was C01 and C02. So now we're going to move on to C03, which are these smaller, I guess these medium-sized pieces. And these are going to slot right into either side of the building. The bigger hook, so there's kind of like this double hook here, and so this double hook, you want this facing up. So it's going to go in like this. And so just be careful with this upper section. You don't want to like bump it while you're trying to get these guys in. You can kind of like move it out of the way, but just be wary about how delicate that is. There we go. Okay. So that took me a little to work it in, but once the hooks line up in the slots, it should just push in without much effort. All right, still having a little bit of trouble getting this hook in. I'm just going to take it out and open it up with the credit card just a little bit more. That one gave me a little bit of trouble, but just slowly work it. You can use your tweezers to help get into places your fingers can't get into. Okay, so I'm just going to fold down all these tiny folds on top just to make sure they're kind of nice and in place. Yeah, okay. Cool. All right, moving on. We've got, what are we up to? So we had C01, C02, C03, 3, and so now we're going to do C04. So with C04, you want these hooks going down. And we're going to start up here at the top. So we've got one slot right here. And then we're going to work the slots in from there. And so there is one extra, there's extra slots at the bottom, but this is for something later on. I'm just going to open these up just to make sure we'll be able to get the future thing into there. Good. Okay. And so these hooks are a little tricky to get to. And so this is where you can reach in from the side to try to give them a fold, or use your tweezers to get it from whatever angle you can. So I'm going to go in from here, give it a little fold, and this one at the top. This one's a little tricky, so I was pulling at the bottom a little, I was pushing at the top. One of the slots, or one of the hooks wasn't in the slot, so adjust that. And just slowly work it down. If you really crank on it, you'll probably end up tearing something. All right, next we're gonna do this C05. And so for this, you want the hooks down also. I think this is C05 piece. Is probably going to be one of the tougher ones to slide down just because there's a bunch of sets of those slots. So try not to get frustrated. It took me a little bit to get this one in there, and I still don't exactly have these top ones in. So I'm going to work it a little bit more, and at the end of the day, I might just give these a little tear and not worry about those. And then now onto C06, right? You want the hooks going down. Again, let's start at the top just because there's an extra slot at the bottom. So these, I've just been working the hook into the slot and then just instantly giving it a little fold. And so if you're having trouble sliding stuff down, it's probably just because your hooks aren't totally lined up with the slots. And when we get to these longer sections, C is the longest section, there's a lot more tabs and hooks and slots. So there's a lot more to check. So just be patient, be gentle with it. And if you have to, kind of go hook by hook, look on the inside. And tweak it with your tweezers if you need it, kind of bend it. Just make sure the tabs are going through, they've got a little twist out, and that just helps make sure the piece that you're gonna slide is fully into the piece that it's sliding against. All right, the last part to work on with C is this top steeple portion. And so for that, I'm actually gonna start with C08. So they look kind of look like a cactus if you were to unfold them. But these guys are going to be slotting into the flat faces of this top portion. And so for these, you actually want the hooks going up. So if you take a look right there, you got your hooks going up. So now we have all the C08s in, and now we're going to make sure our steeple's folded down. So there's actually 2 folded lines that I missed earlier on my initial folds, and so I'm just going to do those right now. But this top one is going to fold back, and so they're kind of thin enough where you don't really need a table or anything to push it up. So there we go. And then this bottom one is going to push in. I'm just going to try to crease it as best as I can right here. All right. Actually, I'm going to remove this C08 just to make sure I've got a nice fold right here. There we go. Okay, much better. All right, so now this whole thing is going to kind of come together. These very top folds are going to fold in, and then you're going to get these 2 little tabs on either side, just like that. And then this side folds in just like that. So this is a tricky part, because you've got to kind of hold this part together. So this part is pretty tricky. Once you've kind of got this top part folded together, we're gonna skip ahead in the numbers a little bit, and we're gonna find C10. And C10 is gonna be the piece that goes on this front right corner, and that's just gonna help keep this steeple together. So there's a slot right there to work that into. I'm going to try to get it in. I'm going to try to give it a little bend on the back. Oh, my steeple came apart. There we go. And then this is going to come around right here and go into this little slot. And then it's going to push up. There we go. It's going to push up to kind of lock this together. See, just like that. So that's a little tricky to get in there. That's probably the trickiest part. But once that's in, this is pretty solid, and we're just going to go and put the rest of the corners on. So let's go find C07, and this is going to be the back leftmost piece. And this part is also a little weird, just because you have to unfold this bend to be able to get it in. Push it up. And then let's do this other corner first, so that'll be C11. Or sorry, C11. It goes right there. Come on. There we go. So I have to kind of flatten these two folds right here to get this corner on. I'm going to work it a little, come on. There, and then it just slides right up. And then the last piece is this front left side, which is C09. So now that all those are on there, the steeple's almost complete. The last thing to do is I'm just going to gently move this back. If you look on the inside, there's some hooks on these four pieces. And so your goal is to get this right here pushed into those, and then this little tab into that little slot. And so this will take a little bit of kind of wiggling around and moving stuff. And I don't think I actually nailed this front tab, but the rest of it looks good, so I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm happy with that. And so you should have these two beams lining up with these two beams. Boom. And so that is the C chunk, which is the trickiest chunk. So once you're past that, it should be smooth sailing from here on out, because all we've got left is the duplicate of the piece we've already done, right? The A and B chunk, and then the base, which is pretty straightforward. Now that we're done with the C chunk, we're going to attach the AB chunk. With this central beam on the C chunk facing you, the AB chunk is going to be on the left side. And so we're going to start with these front facing hooks. So these hooks are facing up on this AB chunk, and they're going to go into these front slots. All right, now that this front piece is attached with those hooks, we're going to look at the back. So these hooks facing upwards are just going to interface into the slots here. And so I'm just going to put a slight pressure down. I'm going to fit all these in. And then I'm just going to push up slightly. So this is a pretty loose fit, but that's intentional. After that, we're going to deal with this top section here. And so this is just going to fold down, but on the C chunk, it'll be a little hard to see, there is a horizontal slot, and this tab right here is going to go into that horizontal slot. So that might take a little bit to get it in there. And actually for this, I'm going to pop off the steeple, so I think it'll be a little easier to get to. And so once you get that fold in, you can just fold it down inside, and that'll lock this in there. But that's the total ABC chunk. So now we're going to move on and do the other side, which is the DE, which is going to be a mirror of what we've already done before.